Hey guys, it's nice to be simming again. So I was looking over to see like what were people looking for on YouTube, and one of the things they were looking for, ironically, is how to build a Sims house. So that's why I'm here today. So let's face it, throughout our simming careers, especially me, you probably built something that looks like this. You know, what we call in the simming community a shoebox with a roof. Like, it doesn't look good. It's very like awful, but I'm going to show you some tips and tricks I do to make this house go from looking awful to looking like something good. So first off, we're going to clear out all the furniture, because if there's one thing I remember, I don't know if this was just me or if it's everybody else, but we tend to buy the most expensive furniture just because, you know, we don't want our Sims worrying about anything. So, and here's the thing, while that may seem like a great idea, it's not practical. As you could tell, like me doing that and not caring about like furniture matching or design, it resulted in the house looking very ugly. The other thing is, as you could tell, placing large ceiling lights everywhere just to make your house bright. Again, something I don't recommend doing. We always like pools. We'll take care of that. And next up, we're going to get rid of all these windows, because let it be known, a tool that was brought to The Sims 4 that I absolutely hate and don't know why they would even give it to us is auto windows. So the problem with auto windows is it places them kind of random. And the worst part is, like, it could be in a very odd spot or somewhere that just doesn't fit. And you're probably wondering why I built this place with 2 floors. Because I'm going to be using those 2 floors, and I'm going to show you how we can make it better. This pool is going to stay. I will keep that. So here's our basic house. Not very good. First off, we're going to get rid of this roof. So the first thing is, when you have a roof, so what I do is I like to do this. I like to take a roof, put it up, see how big it goes, and see what size of the room will be covered by the roof. So if you look here, if we shrink this down to a 1 by 1, I just noticed the house is lopsided, but that is no problem. We can work with that. Besides, makes for some interesting design choices. So if you do something like this, it may look bad at first, but then when you go out to the side, hey, it doesn't look as bad. The other thing that will help is if you grab more A-frame roofs and put them up on top to add some extra, kind of a little extension to the house. Now you're still wondering though, how do we make the house look good with the roof like this? Well, we have to at least have it 3 squares wide. That's why I learned. But you would have the roof 3 squares wide, then you could take this, copy that there, copy that there, copy that there. Then we take a smaller roof, we shrink it down so it's not blocking the house. Already a significant improvement from the previous house. You can do the same on the back, but I say wait to do that. Always check the rooms on the inside. That's what I always do. I make sure my rooms are appropriate, so that way I can pick a shape and go with it. I am going to delete all the walls though, because one of those things that, this is something I struggled with a long time in The Sims and recently been getting better at, is floor plan. Don't let the floor plan happen just yet. Give yourself a few minutes to familiarize yourself with the design of the house, then start thinking about floor plan. Back sides of the house are also very difficult. I am completely aware about how people tend to struggle with those, but it can be fixed. As you can see right here, all I did was simply extend out this room a little bit, and now we have a little bit of a better back to the house. And the best part about these roofs is, as you can see, the roofs are no longer blocking the entire house. I can see perfectly fine inside. It allows you to have some extra detail and design. Pretty good, I might say. Next up, this porch. That porch was gross. You admit that, right? So the front of the house, I think, is fine. It's okay to have a flat front to the house. Here's something. If you have an empty space on the side of the house that looks weird, it's always a good idea to make a faux chimney. Faux obviously being fake. Now the good part is, if you want to, you don't have to. You can take an object that is a chimney by 1 square like this one and stick it inside just for some extra detail. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Now we are going to pick up this entire house and we're going to bring it forward a few inches just because I want to be able to make that backyard a cool design. Now here's the cool part. When it comes to the way I would describe it is the porch roof, there are many ways you could take it, and each way is unique in its own way. Obviously, it can appeal to the house in certain ways. Sometimes you'll do it, it looks ugly. Sometimes you'll do it, it looks good. Just don't be afraid to experiment. Back porches, I tend to be a little more free hands on, and I recommend you do this too. What I mean by free hands is you don't really have to worry about shape or design. Like, you can use some of the different shapes that the porches have in game to make something kind of unique, like that. It helps a lot. Really, you can't go wrong with the color scheme. For example, I'm going to choose a non-traditional color for this house. You know what? I have never made a red house before, and I think it might work. Now, personally, it would be great if The Sims could provide us with some more pastel colors for the house. Oh no. See this here? You're probably bothered by that not looking right. Well, we can fix that. What you do is you drag the roof back so that part of it is not cutting into the house. We copy that piece and we put it back. Then we draw it through. See this little tab right here? Grab this. Looky there. Brings the roof right in so that it looks more natural. So now we know what color we practically want to use. I'm saying practically a lot. I just realized that. We can now grab columns that match that color and use it to our advantage. Now, a little tip, you're going to want to use bb.move objects, which is a cheat. Simply Control-Shift-C, type in bb.move objects, and this will allow you to place things where they normally wouldn't go. So see how this thing doesn't have columns? Normally it wouldn't let me do this, but I'm doing it this time to help improve the house. Now remember, I did discuss this earlier. You can use platforms to raise this a little bit. There, it's raised to a normal level. And then we just sneak a chimney in there. If I need to, I can always shorten it. Doesn't that look nice? I'm gonna bring it up just one, just so we can have that little chimney picking up the top. The number one thing I always say is your trim of the roof, column, and, big word, and. Well, it's not really a big word. I don't know why I'm talking to you guys like you're children. You're not children. I don't think you are. Don't think I think you're children. Please don't. But you should at least have the trim. Not the entire foundation. The trim of the foundation match the rest of the house. If you are to do that, you'll see how it looks like it's more natural. See what I mean? Now we're going to go ahead and grab some flooring. And voila! So far, so good. You're seeing already a significant improvement of what was an ugly home before, looking more like a beautiful home. Something that can help is you can always put it, if this thing looks weird, like see how we have this little lip right here, look kind of weird with the roof looking like that? Well, there's a way we can fix that. These are sprandles. You'll find them right here. So what I do is I grab a sprandle that looks good with the rest of the house, and I put it on. Creates a little bit of a difference that helps the house look a little better. Now for backyards, you're probably wondering, why I don't have a roof over it? Well, that's because I personally think that this does not need a roof. I've never, ever put a roof on the back of my porches. Well, even if I do, it's rare. Now, something I do want to tell you, for smaller builds, like a smaller house build, you will definitely see me using more of a room-by-room design rather than this kind of design where I design the exterior and then the interior. But that's something that depends on what you're doing. If you need to, I could talk about that. But we're going to talk about only just builds in general today. Now you have a way to get in your hallway upstairs, and now we know where the stairs have to be. So that means later we can decide what color they need to be. Now here comes the hard part, dividing up the room. Pretty simple basic squares. The last thing we probably need up here to make things easier for your Sims, especially since they live in this very interestingly designed house, is we do need a bathroom. Sims are going to be constantly using bathrooms. Depending on how many Sims you have in the house, it's best to have multiple bathrooms. So what we could do in here is maybe we could change up this room layout. So you don't have to have these perfectly square corners. No one said you ever had to. Now the main thing that's an issue here is obviously no one's going to be able to enter that room if it's like that. So what we can do is we can change up the room like I'm doing right now. And we can add a bathroom right there, and it doesn't impede on much. We have this little corner so people can get in and out. And sometimes if you want to, let's say, oh no, your kitchen is too big. I like to put a little storage closet. Something small. just a small room where you can put things like laundry, a water boiler, random crap that you want for your house. It helps. Now for the upstairs, good news is this place is already pretty easy to divide up. This can be a master bedroom, but here's the big thing. A master bedroom needs to be a 4x4 room. You need to have enough space to place the master bed. So as you can see, this room is not going to help with that. This room has a better chance of becoming a master bedroom. What we can do up here, though, is we can make a small bathroom here, and we can give whoever lives in this room their own private bathroom. Now, on the side of the house, things I do is bathrooms get small windows, whether that's a tiny square window or just a basic window like this one. Living rooms, I like to make space for a fireplace if I can. If that is not possible, then I will adjust accordingly. Probably make space for the TV instead. This room is probably going to be a study or bedroom, so I could use some larger windows to help kind of make like a little bit of a unique view. See? Looks good from the front and looks good from the back. Now let's place in some doors. Let's get that taken care of. Now for back doors, you can use a sliding glass door. That's fine, but my prerogative is a little different. You see, I like to use a big kind of door like this instead, especially if you're making a smaller house. It looks more natural for a back door entrance. Now let's go ahead and go throughout the house and add in doors to extra rooms. There we go. Now if you look at the outside, now that's a house. So far, our shoebox with the roof is turning into a very beautiful home. So now it's a matter of getting the interior. I do the interior first, then I focus on the outside, because I want to be able to get my ideas in immediately. So first, let's figure out flooring. Obviously, our main rooms are going to have some basic flooring. We do have some ways we can make this unique, which I'm going to execute for you guys to show how you can have some different, make some rooms a different way to make them look cooler and more unique in their own way. So the wood floors are usually the rooms that are going to be really just basic random rooms. Carpet is the only other thing I might use sometimes for like a living room, like so. And for bathrooms, I always use some sort of tile, but I mix and match all the time to help come up with something unique. For this time, we're just going to use white, just so you guys know where is what. And for our little storage room, you can use wood floor, you can use concrete, it doesn't really matter. First up, we got a hallway. Now hallways are pretty simple. I just grab some wallpaper that I enjoy. If it's one with a trim, it's even better. And then you simply just paint that first. Good, now we got that. Add some sort of light to indicate where the hallway begins. And I'll show you the rest. Here's what I basically would do for a hallway. Have some sort of light, have like some organization by the front door, whether that's some shoes, an umbrella holder, and a little like kind of coat hanger. And then also you can have some mirrors with some dressers. Let it be known, I did not make it obscured by the plant on purpose. Now let's move on to the living room. No more big living rooms or expensive items. We're going to do this differently. Living rooms tend to get messy in real life, so the big thing you should do about that is you should add some sort of storage, whether that's a furniture, creating your own, or many more. One thing I always recommend for the living room is add some sort of floor lamp, like I have here, but you should also, at the same time, add some sort of table lamp. It brightens up the room a little better, and also makes it so there's not as much of a need for very tall, bright lights. But, let's say, oh no, this room's too dark. You can simply grab a tiny saucer light and throw it in. Makes it a little more natural lit, and you can barely see it. Something I love to add is this little Lindsay. Lindsay is a smart kind of Alexa-esque thing. It's a very fun little thing to have in your Sims house, and when you play with it, trust me, you'll figure out why it's enjoyable. You should also add some sort of clock, just if you can. You don't have to. It's more just like a kind of a fun thing to have in the house. And don't be afraid to clutter up all the nightstands. Make sure the house feels like a home. You want to make sure there's stuff everywhere that feels like the place is lived in rather than nobody living here. See how much character a little storage in the house brings? Just having some basic boxes and stuff thrown in and making it look like it's all together. You should also make sure to add in some sort of mirror. That way your Sims can easily have a good time, specifically practicing skills. Other things you might want to add are maybe some toilet paper, some, soap, and toothbrush holders. Another thing I commonly add, because I find them a lot in my bathrooms, so it's kind of a build thing I do, is I add a rug. Just so people aren't slipping and falling. I try to add lights over the sink. And then my favorite light to use for the bathroom, which always looks good, is this one right here, this campanulate ceiling lamp. It looks like it's supposed to belong in a bathroom, so that's why I use it. And simply stick some curtains up. Hopefully they can match something in the room just to make them not look out of place. But if curtains don't work, there's always blinds. We don't want any Sims looking inside your bathroom anyway. I'm going for a very basic bedroom here. Kind of like a bedroom where most likely there will be only one Sim using it. There's not going to be multiple Sims in this bedroom. Let's at least hope not. But if there is, they can scoot across. There's that possibility. And I always add curtains. Just because, let's face it, your Sims are most likely going to want a little bit of privacy in their bedroom. So you can at least simulate that with some curtains. See how a basic bedroom can really appeal even if it is small? Just adding a few touches really just helps piece it together. Now, I want the kids' room to be upstairs, so I'm thinking we should turn this other room into some sort of study. Now, again, I'm going to follow the same rule I've spoken to you about before, which is never, ever, and I do mean ever, spend money on the most expensive furniture just because you want to. You should have some sort of reason to doing that. Now, let it be known, you can use a dining table instead of a desk. It actually provides some good ideas. What you do is you just grab a dining table. Now, a normal desk will slot to the middle, but a table allows you to pick a side. And this allows you to put the computer in a different spot too. It allows it to be a little more unique and also have some extra space for if you want to put some other things on the desk. And number one thing I love to do with desks, and you better do this if you want it to look good, clutter it. Make it look used. There are multiple ways you can do this. Number one thing I always add, pencil holder. You can also add a desk lamp. But with the recent update, not too long ago, which I'm still very upset about because it doesn't fully work the way I wanted it to, heck, you could throw a punching bag in here for good measure. It may not be in the right size or space, but it still works, surprisingly. And other things I'd like to do to help make this room feel a little better, if it's a study, is I will go ahead and go to surfaces. You can only find it under here and use displays. Displays are something you cannot access without going. See, it ends up becoming a very nice study. Now for the dining room. Obviously, we closed off the dining room a little bit, helping its shape by making this small bathroom. But dining rooms are also a very interesting thing. Normally, you just at least need the table and just some chairs. Always put a fancy kind of overhead light above the table. Makes it feel a little more right. Also, I just noticed these windows are not high enough. Oh no, it's not that those windows aren't high enough, it's that this window is too high. Want to make sure that my house looks right, that's for sure. Now, let it be known, the dining room works as two things for me, typically. I will use it as a dining room, but I also use it as a party room. So something I will make sure to have is to make sure it's equipped with room for things like stereos or pianos, because I want people to be able to come here and have parties in the dining room. Because I feel like that's the second use I usually have for it. Another thing that always helps too is if you go under miscellaneous decorations, go all the way to the bottom, you will find china cabinets. These are really good for these kind of rooms because when you put a china cabinet in, paint it the right color, and just scoot it into the right spot, it adds some extra fun to the room. Other things you can do to help improve this room is add a little dog or cat bowl if you have cats and dogs. Just, have a little fun. You have a right to it after all. But see, the last thing I would do is probably add a plant in the middle, but since we already have a plant in the room, there's no real need for it. Now for half baths, very plain, very simple. It should be understood how you do a half bath. Number one thing I would recommend is for majority of the bathrooms using the exact same furniture. Because in real life, a lot of bathrooms are going to have the exact same counters, the exact same sink, the exact same toilet paper, all that. The only times I would ever make a bathroom different from each other is if it's a master bathroom, referring to if it's a kid's room, I'd kidify it. But if it's a parent's bathroom, then I'd make sure to make it a little more like a sweet bathroom with lots of like fancy stuff that makes Sims want to relax and have fun. So for kitchens, I always put an overhead light. And then for the floor, I try to get a little more unique with the kitchen floor. It really depends on the house and how I'm feeling when I want to pick what I want for that floor. Not to mention, another thing is always try to include a backsplash. Trust me, you'll thank me. But make sure it's not an ugly backsplash. That was gross. Both my tongue showing and that backsplash. Ugh. Cabinets are always tricky as well, because you never know what you're going to go with that will make the house look good. So I try to experiment again with finding the right cabinet that fits the room the way I want it. I also selected the wrong cabinet, so ignore the fact that I'm placing cabinets willy-nilly until I get things right. Because the game decided to make me upset. Always add a garbage can in your kitchen. Your Sims are going to produce food waste, and, well, you don't want to have it messing up the kitchen. Now, what makes this kitchen better is you can use some overhead cabinets. I normally will put them... Now, let it be known, you do not have to surround the entire kitchen with overhead cabinets. A lot of people do that, and it can definitely cause some interesting shapes to your house. Instead, do it something like this. And use a little range hood. Most houses have it. But the way I've learned it, if you look at my appliances here for the kitchen, make it a triangle between the fridge, the stove, and the sink. It should be a triangle. It can be in this shape, it could be longer, it could be shorter, but it's going to help your Sims get more things around conveniently. And again, clutter it. Kitchens have a lot of clutter in them. My mom hates clutter, but you gotta have it. Whether that's just a knife block in the corner, or simply a tip jar, or some cell phone and keys, or even, my favorite, here's something you can really do, just to teach you guys. So, let's see here. Let's make something unique for this kitchen. I'm gonna grab a couple of items and we're gonna do something cool. We're gonna grab a colorful little dish holder here. We're going to grab, and watch this. So normally when I put this up here, obviously it's blocking the sink. This doesn't help me. But here's what I can do. I'll move the sink, and if you hold Alt, you can move stuff freely. But watch, as I hold Alt, I move stuff freely to where I want it. It just may take some trial and error. It also helps with rotating something the way you want it. But then I move the counter back, and look, it's in a new spot where it looks right. It's a great tip. I use it all the time. Ever since I learned how to use it, I use it. Now for the little storage room, firstly, I suggest you grab some sort of like, for example, this wall from an art kit. Some kind of wall that tends to be unfinished. And if that's not possible, you can simply grab a white wall and throw it in. But usually, this is going to be a storage area. So there's not really going to be much in here. Just some stuff your Sims are probably not going to use. This can include things like a decoration box. You can use this giant survival thing in there to simulate some shelves. And then you could throw some random clutter in there to be like some old stuff. It just helps easily because if there's one thing I've learned from The Sims 4, it's really hard to find a place to put that dang decorations box and have it look natural rather than just sitting out in the open. So how I do it is I squeeze it into one of these things. But that's not all you can do. You can also add things like cleaning supplies to make it look. But you can also turn it into a laundry room. The possibilities are endless. Now, if you do have laundry day, which I hope you do, use this light bulb as the light in the room. That way it just simulates that it's a closet, not very well lit. So now we have these two rooms. We can design them solely and separately. First off, we're going to start with this bathroom, which this bathroom is going to be a little more designed because it is an important bathroom. I definitely recommend, if you are planning on having kids in the game, get a shower bathtub combo. But if you can, use this one from Parenthood. Because look, it has some designs with some fun curtains on them. And when you put, because like look, this looks all right. but this looks cute. You really just want to get some basic colors and see what you want to do with it. I usually use some darker tones because, well, I kind of grow up with a house like that. That's kind of just me. And when you do add bedrooms, always try to add a dresser. Like I did downstairs, add a dresser. And if you can, you don't have to, but if you can, add a full-length mirror. And if you can't, try a wall. And if you can't, just forget the mirror. Again, room of privacy is why. And since ever since we got it, add an alarm clock. You're gonna want it, trust me. Knowing your Sims. The only thing I do kind of wish is that in Sims games is if we can officially get it so your Sims can sleep in and you can command them to. Because in the previous Sims game, The Sims 3, if your Sims were sleeping, you could tell them, sleep until fully rested. This would make them wake up at a different time, like 6 a.m. for example. And it's much better because it's more realistic, rather than your Sims waking up at 4 a.m. and somehow having a day's worth of sleep. I always put a stuffed bear near like the little kind of, oh man, I forgot bassinet. I don't know why I couldn't remember what it's called. And again, another thing I always add to the kids' room is, well, kids should have a reading nook, somewhere where their parents can read to them. Now, personally, I think The Sims 4 needs a better read-to-child interaction. To be honest, I would personally love it if the read-to-child interaction was, well, let's think here. Maybe it was the Sim sits on their lap. Other things you can do is, like, if you have this little, like, rug area, play some toys thrown about. Like if a little kid is just, you know, not cleaning up their toys, which typically they do because, you know, they're, like, heat. And again, always add something to keep their clothes in. Again, realistic is why I do that. And always add soft lighting. It is a kid's room after all. Now for the kid's bathroom, same thing applies as I was talking about earlier. Personalize it. Make it feel like it's a kid's bathroom. How do you do that exactly? By finding stuff that can add some character. And also adding some details. So for example, shower I showed you earlier. Grab a shower and try to find something that's very kiddie on it. Like this little elephant, for example. Isn't that adorable? Maybe it'd be a good idea to set like a little cabinet above the bathroom toilet. Just to keep some stuff in. We have one of those like at my house where I grew up. And since we have some extra space, we can add a wider vanity. Now, the number one thing I will recommend is make sure the room is not completely kitty. Because if you're using all these fun kitty colors, the problem is, what's going to happen when the kid grows up? They're not going to want it like that anymore. They're going to want something completely different. So make sure you sparingly decorate it childish. Add some things that can be easily removed without resulting in the entire bathroom needing to be changed. See how much that looks really good together? And there we go. The entire house has been furnished. So now there's a goal of teaching you guys how to make your exteriors look good. First, let's start with the front of the house. Something I've learned recently that is a little tip I will always give people is go ahead and grab some sort of fence, like a picket fence, for example. Even if we don't have one in base game, pretty much any fence kind of works with this. But grab some sort of fence. It doesn't matter which, like I said. And draw a little bit of fence across the front of the house. It just adds some extra kind of character to the house. And the other thing I'll recommend is completely fence in the backyard. If you fence in your backyard, it looks a little more realistic wise. Let's continue with the front of the house. You can paint a way up to the front of the house, but you don't have to. What I recommend is using this little sidewalk-esque thing, this one right here, cushiony concrete, because it just matches the sidewalk that's up in front of the door. Another thing you may want is you're definitely going to want a little pool ladder to get in and out of the pool. Let's face it, your Sims can get out of the pool in Sims 4, but I don't want to take any chances knowing their records. Oh man, their records. So for the front of the house, furnishing wise, what I normally will do is I will grab an outdoor light. specifically an outdoor wall light. Just simply add it in front of the house, in front of the door, because it looks real. Do that on both ends. I just realized this door is this door black? Yeah, that door's black. Just want to make sure because it looked like it wasn't. And then for the front porch, don't add anything crazy. I normally don't add furniture to the front porch because it's a front porch. You're typically not going to have much out there. It's more the back porch you're going to have stuff on. But plant-wise, if you pick one plant, like let's say we pick this tree. Like I want this tree as part of the house. Don't place one. Grab the same tree, place it somewhere else. You always have to have two of the same plant. If you don't have two, then it looks out of place. So watch. We have this little spot here. I add this plant, but it looks out of place. So I'll shrink it down by using my bracket keys and add a second plant. See? See how that looks much more realistic than just adding one singular plant? Some plants you may be, once you have at least two of the same matching tree, trees don't need to match anymore. That's what I've learned. It's more the smaller plants are the ones that if you place one, place the other, because otherwise it's going to look funky and you're not going to be happy. You're going to think your build looks bad. You can even, if some places don't have enough room for plants, add some rocks. See how much that already looks good with just some few plants? And also, make sure the trees are not clipping. If they clip in the house, again, it looks bad. If you have a big empty space, like this one over here, for example, something I do is I grab an air conditioner, I'll place it on the side of the house, and then maybe add some plants nearby. Like mostly I'll just grab these weeds right here, throw down some long grass, even if it is going to the wall a little bit. I mean, that's kind of realistic. And then maybe some dandelions, just to add in some extra kind of detail. It adds some more character to spaces that don't really have anything going for them. And normally, when I also add the air conditioner, I also add the garbage can. Now for the back room, it's a porch. I normally will add a grill. I'll try to make it a unique color so it kind of stands out from the rest of the house. And then porch furniture really depends. Are your Sims tanners? Do they want a lounge chair? Or do they eat out here more? If they eat out here more, I'd say add a table. It doesn't matter if it's a umbrella table or a non-umbrella table. Both work in this case. Another thing I will always add is a little garden. This can be in the form of plants or boxes like these, or it can be in the form of these pots. I tend to add both. But if you do add this, you do want to go ahead and grab the hose from the outdoor decor category. Place it nearby. It looks more realistic. Now, time for terrain paint. The last thing you need to know. You should always terrain paint. For example, underneath, do like a tiny bit. Why is this not painting? Oh, because it's in erase mode. Add a tiny bit of dirt. Not that much. Add a tiny bit of dirt underneath stuff. And there you go. I took a super ugly Sims house and turned it into a super beautiful family home. And I hope you guys really like this. It took a lot of effort and a lot of time too. Whew. But I'm happy I got to discuss this with you. So please, like this video, smart build, see it, and subscribe to my channel if you are new. I do all kinds of content on here, like gameplay, builds, reviews, and news on The Sims. I also stream every Sunday at 2 p.m. If you guys want to know any information about my posting schedule or any of that, feel free to go to the links down below or just look at the description. You can also find my other channel there, garrcall, where I do regular gaming content. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!